Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, dear WSIS stakeholders, welcome to the virtual WSIS Forum 2020. Thank you for joining us today for the high-level opening ceremony of the virtual WSIS Forum 2020 workshops and special tracks, and the appointment of the chairman of WSIS Forum 2020. We would like to invite Mr. Zhao, the Secretary General of the ITU, to please deliver his opening remarks. Mr. Zhao, the floor is yours.
Thank you, moderator. Excellencies, distinguished colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure on behalf of ITU and our co-organizers, UNESCO, UNCTAD, and UNDP, to welcome you to this WSIS Forum 2020. This year is special because it is the first ever virtual WSIS Forum. Online events covering almost 300 different sessions run by over 150 organizations will spread over the summer months to culminate in the final week of the forum, run from 7th to 10th September. None of this would be possible without the strong support of the entire community of WSIS. I would like to thank all stakeholders for their active engagement in the year's preparatory process. Your commitment to hold this forum online amid the COVID-19 crisis has been unwavering. My sincere thanks also go to our co-organizers, all the other participating UN agencies, as well as our partners and sponsors. Thank you for your support. I'm pleased to announce the appointment of His Excellency Mr. Gustavo Montalvo, Minister of the Presidency of the Dominican Republic, to serve as Chairman of the WSIS Forum 2020. Mr. Minister, thank you for your commitment to the WSIS process and to strengthening WSIS implementation activities in your country and in the region. Ladies and gentlemen, this year is also special because it marks the 15-year milestone since the creation of the World Summit on Information Society. This period has seen a remarkable growth in the use of digital technologies. I think that this is very special. Let me just try to find my speeches again. New technologies sometimes give some troubles. That this period has seen a remarkable growth in the use of digital technology, which is transforming people's lives around the globe. Now I get my notes back. These technologies are now recognized across the world and the UN system as a key driver to global development. The WSIS Forum itself has become a leading ICT for development event in the world. Networking has always been at the heart of the forum, and it has led to impactful partnerships. Over the next weeks, I hope you will take advantages of this virtual platform to engage on issues ranging from ICTs for youth to ICT accessibility. I encourage you to use the online platform. I meet you at WSIS. It is now open and active. I also encourage all stakeholders to interact with the WSIS champaigns, who will be sharing their stories throughout the forum. The much awaited WSIS prizes 2020 will be announced and awarded on the 7th of September. Ladies and gentlemen, it is fitting that the theme of this year's forum, fostering digital transformation and global partnerships with its action line for achieving SDGs, comes at a time when we are entering the last decade to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. Emerging technologies such as 5G, artificial intelligence, blockchain, cloud computing, Internet of Things, and many more have the capacity to improve the lives of billions. These technologies are powerful tools to tackle the world's most pressing challenges, including the coronavirus pandemic. This pandemic shines a spotlight on the virtual importance of digital technologies and services, but also on startling digital disparities. Broadband development is facing many challenges, from geographic imbalance to lack of effective guidance on industry policies. As a result, improvement in broadband connectivity has been too slow. Let us remember that the 3.6 billion people around the world still have no connectivity at all. I highlighted these challenges in ITU Circular Letter number 3, issued in early January 2020, calling on all stakeholders to come together with the broadband industry to accelerate the progress toward bridging the broadband divide effectively and rapidly. Today, I'm calling on the WSIS stakeholder community to rally behind this effort. Together, I'm very confident that we can help connect all people by the end of this decade. Actually, it was highlighted by Secretary General Guterres of the United Nations in his opening remarks last week at the General Assembly of the United Nations. Let us reaffirm our commitment to the alignment of the WSIS process with the SDGs. And let us continue to work together across countries and sectors to make technology work for development everywhere and for everyone. I wish you all a successful virtual WSIS Forum 2020. I look forward to taking part in this exciting event and to seeing you all online at the beginning of September for the final week of the forum. I thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zhao. We have several participants who have joined us from all over the world, and this shows the enthusiasm and commitment of stakeholders worldwide towards the WSIS process. We would now like to invite our newly elected chairman, His Excellency Mr. Gustavo Montalvo, Minister of the Presidency, Dominican Republic, to please make his opening remarks. Congratulations, Honorable Chairman.
Excelencias, amigos y amigas, muy buenos días a todos y todas. Es un gran honor para mí y para nuestro país la República Dominicana, presidir el Foro de la Cumbre Mundial de la Sociedad de la Información. Queremos agradecer al secretario general de la Unión Internacional de las Telecomunicaciones, la UIT, el señor Jaulín Sao, por su liderazgo y por hacer de este foro una excelente plataforma para el intercambio de conocimiento, experiencias y buenas prácticas. De igual manera, nuestro agradecimiento al equipo coordinador del foro y a las distintas agencias internacionales que han colaborado con el éxito de esta cumbre. Para nuestro país, el ser la primera nación latinoamericana en presidir esta cumbre mundial es una distinción que valoramos como un reconocimiento al decidido esfuerzo que hemos puesto en los últimos años para integrar a nuestra población en la sociedad de la información. En un día como hoy, en el que estamos realizando esta cumbre en modo virtual, podemos comprobar de forma muy directa la importancia de esta transformación. Nunca ha estado tan claro el valor de las nuevas tecnologías como en los últimos meses, durante los cuales se han convertido en herramientas indispensables en la lucha contra la pandemia del coronavirus. En todo el mundo hemos visto cómo el Internet ha servido para mantener las actividades empresariales funcionando, evitando así una mayor pérdida de empleos y de actividad económica de la que ya se ha registrado. Y es que el teletrabajo ya se ha vuelto parte de nuestra vida cotidiana. Más aún, es posible que una vez superada la emergencia del COVID-19, este sea la forma normal para realizar ciertas actividades organizacionales. Adicionalmente, el Internet ha permitido que los lazos sociales se mantengan, que podamos continuar interactuando a través de la pantalla, evitando así poner en riesgo nuestra vida y la de los demás. Y ante este hecho, cabe preguntarse cómo habríamos manejado la pandemia del COVID-19 si no hubiésemos hecho las inversiones necesarias para incluir más personas en la sociedad digital. En el caso de la República Dominicana, a través del programa República Digital, hemos realizado importantes inversiones para ampliar el acceso a Internet y llevarlo a todo el territorio nacional. También para incrementar el uso de las tecnologías en los procesos educativos, para mejorar la digitalización de las empresas, aumentar los procesos gubernamentales que se realizan por la vía digital y fortalecer la ciberseguridad del país. Así, en los últimos años hemos logrado desarrollar en República Dominicana un ecosistema de telecomunicaciones robusto y hemos logrado estrechar la brecha digital a un ritmo vertiginoso. No obstante, este es un buen momento para pensar en el futuro, para visualizar cómo las tecnologías pueden ayudarnos a sobrellevar de forma más eficiente la covidianidad, esta nueva realidad que afrontamos en todos los países. Es ocasión propicia para analizar cómo las tecnologías pueden crear mayores oportunidades a fin de impulsar la economía de los países, crear empleos y reducir las desigualdades. Debemos reflexionar cómo la cuarta revolución industrial impactará los mercados laborales, pero sobre todo, ¿qué debemos hacer para aprovechar las oportunidades que se presentan al tiempo que mitigamos los riesgos que conlleva todo cambio tecnológico? Esta cumbre es una excelente oportunidad para encontrar nuevas maneras en que las tecnologías de la información y la comunicación contribuyan a erradicar la desigualdad y la pobreza. Unidos podemos erigir un mundo donde estas tecnologías sirvan para crear sociedades más igualitarias e inclusivas, con más oportunidades para todos. Por eso, es muy positivo que la Unión Internacional de las Telecomunicaciones y las Naciones Unidas asuman como indispensable la necesidad de unir la consecución de los objetivos de desarrollo sostenible con el desarrollo de las tecnologías de la información. Porque desde los gobiernos debemos garantizar que nadie se quede atrás. Debemos dar a nuestros trabajadores la capacitación necesaria para que el empleo siga siendo un derecho, independientemente de los cambios tecnológicos que se produzcan. Necesitamos comunidades mejor conectadas, que puedan tener más acceso a la información, que puedan utilizar las TIC para mejorar su productividad y su calidad de vida. Tenemos, en definitiva, mucho terreno en el que experimentar y muchas ideas que compartir desde hoy en esta cumbre y en los próximos años. Esa es la gran oportunidad que nos presenta los encuentros y talleres de estos días. ¿Cómo podemos usar la tecnología de la información para tener ciudades más habitables y resistentes? Por ejemplo, ante una pandemia. ¿Cómo podemos usarlas para que los mayores o las personas con discapacidad puedan vivir vidas más plenas? ¿Cómo podemos usar herramientas como la realidad aumentada para avanzar en los objetivos de desarrollo sostenible? ¿Y cuál es el papel de los jóvenes, de las mujeres o del sector privado en cada paso de este proceso? Queremos para nuestros países un futuro en el que sean más prósperos y libres, con sociedades cada vez más sanas, más educadas y seguras, con una democracia viva que acompaña a gobiernos cada vez más participativos y transparentes. Y en este camino, la tecnología ha demostrado ser nuestra mejor aliada. La República Dominicana está firmemente comprometida en avanzar por este camino con ustedes y juntos seguir construyendo una sociedad global de la información. Gracias una vez más por confiar en nosotros para presidir este encuentro que estamos seguros será de gran provecho para todos los presentes. Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias, Chairman. Thank you very much. We look forward to working closely with you during the WSIS Forum 2020. Dear ladies and gentlemen, we will now have a high-level dialogue on fostering digital transformations and global partnerships, WSIS action lines for achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. This is moderated by Her Excellency, Ms. Katrina Non, Ambassador, Permanent Representative, Mission Dominican Republic in Geneva. Also joining us today as panelists are some of the experts on the different WSIS action lines and our high-level track facilitators. Dear Ambassador, the floor is yours. Ambassador, you have to unmute yourself, please.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon to everyone, Secretary General Haolin Sao, and all the colleagues from the I2 and permanent missions in Geneva and civil society. It is a great pleasure for the Dominican Republic to take over the chairmanship of the WSIS Forum 2020. We are committed to implement the WSIS action lines for advancing the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals. In that sense, the Dominican government has put into place an ambitious project called República Digital, which was named by the Minister Montalvo, which its name in English is Digital Republic. This is a multi-pillar effort that aims at guaranteeing access to information and communication technologies and to reduce the digital divide while providing better services to our citizens. We have given a lot of programs under this scope project, which is called Digital Republic. We have implemented in our public school free technical devices. We also have deployed kilometers of optic fiber, and we have also trained small businesses owners and entrepreneurs in digital technologies. Also, in the context of the COVID-19 pandemic, a team of professionals working at our Ministry of Economy and Planning have led efforts to build an interactive and responsive information platform that processes data from a number of first responders and healthcare institutions. This high-level dialogue will provide an opportunity to discuss different aspects of ITCs for development, and in order to make the dialogue interactive, we encourage questions from the audience and encourage also you to type them in the Q&A. I have here with me today the high-level track facilitators who will moderate the high-level policy sessions starting from the 20th of July. So welcome you all, and we will start with our first speaker of this high-level track facilitator, Mr. David Wright, Director of the UK Safer Internet Centre Civil Society. And we're going to start with this first question of the panel. David, COVID-19 has affected billions of people across the world. What impact have we seen on children online and their safety?
Ambassador, thank you very much for the introduction and also for the question. For the ITU too, and also partners, thank you for the invitation of having me within WSIS this year. It's my pleasure and indeed my privilege. And Ambassador, that is such an important question, and it's wonderful to be able to provide you with a response. So, we have seen, as you say, the impact that COVID-19 has had on billions of people across the world, with unprecedented peacetime restrictions being imposed on so many different people. And the reaction has been extraordinary, as Excellency said. This digital migration that's actually taken place, and everybody, or lots of people, moving online to maintain some form of normality in terms of social, whether it's economic, whether it's entertainment, or whether it's learning. And that the increased use of digital infrastructure, it's been really clear to see. We've seen the publication of all sorts of different data and information published from whether they're providers, whether they're technology providers, whether they're infrastructure providers, that dramatic growth. And perhaps only a few years ago, that wouldn't have been possible. We might not have the infrastructure, the technology to support the whole-scale digital migration that we've actually seen. As Margrethe Vestager, the European Union's digital chief, pointed out, amid the crisis, we've had a full-scale crash test of everything digital. Now, the question is really important, I think. So when it comes to online technology, we always see that children are amongst early adopters of technology, and perhaps using technology, particularly connected technology, in ways that we'd never ever anticipated. Indeed, it is perhaps at this stage really helpful to point out that over the course of the last 9 months, with the ITU, we've been working on updating the Child Online Protection Guidelines, which actual fact, the revisions get published tomorrow, get released tomorrow. So I would very much encourage everybody to have a look out for the new Child Online Protection Guidelines, like I say, that get published tomorrow. When we saw the advent of COVID-19, we saw a number of organisations start to point out predictions about how COVID-19 will impact children. So particularly UNICEF, We Protect, Europol, to name but a few, are publishing potential, the impact, the predicted, the likelihood impact, and the heightened and increased risk of harm that children will be facing. And it's only really now that we've started to see the emergence of some data and some information that started to disclose just how children are being impacted. Again, it's important, I think, to say, in terms of child online protection, from an ITU definition perspective, this is all forms of harm that children encounter online, whether they're illegal as well as legal harmful. It's just wherever children encounter harm. And to give you an insight, perhaps, we've seen data around 4 particular things. There were many predictions that the child sexual abuse material online will increase. We have actually seen an increase of individual searching for child sexual abuse content, and that's in various countries across the world, alongside an increase in the access of adult content as well. This point about digital migration, it is important to say, we've seen some studies highlight this too, that not all children have access, universal access to technology. And so we are seeing a gulf, a digital divide growing between those children particularly that do have access to technology and connecting, and those that indeed don't, particularly whether that's to do with learning or whatever it may well be. We've seen a number of reports that highlights children have an increased anxiety associated with the pandemic and indeed the restrictions. So perhaps that's introduced by some isolations as well. And the final point that we are concluding is that we've seen research that concludes that parents are particularly anxious about their children's education or the loss of education and this diversion as well as we see the pandemic increase. So over time, we will get to see more and more information that will be published, and we can make conclusions. But I think it is fair to conclude that at this moment, we can, with certainty, say that children are experiencing negative impacts of COVID-19, and particularly the restrictions that they are seeing in an online sense. And it's for all of us to play a part in protecting children online. And like I say, the ITU guidelines will get published tomorrow, will enable industry, governments, parents, and indeed children themselves to stay safe online. Ambassador, that's hopefully a response to your question. And again, if anybody has questions on the floor, then I'm more than happy to take those later on. Ambassador, back to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, David, for that important information and for the data you have provided us today. Now we're going to be talking with Ms. Betty Bonardel, engineer and CEO, founder, ABS Consulting Ltd, civil society. So you're a woman engineer and working actively towards gender mainstreaming in ICTs. Can you please share some of your experiences and activities in this area?
Thank you very much, Ambassador, and thank you for the ITU for organizing this high-level session. You're actually asking a very important question. In order to answer your question, I will focus on the UN SDG 5B goal, which is about enhancing the use of enabling technology, and in particular information and communication technology, to promote the empowerment of women. Nowadays, the use of ICT, especially the internet, is part of our daily life. We are connected more than ever. According to the 2019 ITU statistics, 53.6% of the population uses internet. The portion of women, though, using internet globally is only 48%, while it is compared to 58% for men. ICT creates a lot of opportunities for women, such as knowledge sharing, access to education, access to a lot of programs, including e-health, and allow the women to be economically empowered. However, women also face a lot of barriers. One of them is the access of ICT tools and the internet, the affordability of the internet, the digital literacy, such as the device use, internet management, email creation, social and cultural barriers, lack of absence of accurate and official gender disaggregated data that can transform in information to be able to be used at global and national levels. All these barriers are important, and we all need to work together to allow them to be overcome. Some of the activities that we have been engaging in as part of the associations, and there are, I'm happy to say, a large section of associations working on that item, so it's very important that we carry on working together. Activities with children, like for instance, the activity that Swiss Engineering is engaged in. With Womenvai, we organized a session on ICT in entrepreneurship in Benin in the autumn term. There are other activities that are being organized, and some of them will actually be presented as part of the WSIS sessions that are going to take place. There will be actually a first workshop on the data solutions about the water management and the environment impact just after this high-level session that I can invite people to attend. There will be a workshop on AI and the aspect of culture in AI on the 29th of June. Women in technology will be the subject of a session on the 7th of July. And I will come again with pleasure to discuss the policy of digital divide on the 20th of July as part of a high-level session. So all these actions are very important, but I think men and women, all the people listening, all the people around the table can each take an action and pledge to take an action to be able to make it easier for women to access the technology, for women to get this empowerment that will allow society to develop better output overall. Thank you very much, Ambassador.
Thank you very much for the delightful information you have given and the role women play in ICT and their empowerment. I really believe in that. So now we are going to be talking with Giacomo Massone, Head of Institutional Relations and Member Relations South, IBU operating Eurovision and Euro Radio. So the question is, what will be the consequences of the COVID-19 crisis on the media sector, and what will change in the media sector after the COVID-19 crisis? What are some lessons learned?
Thank you very much for the invitation and for raising this issue that, as you will remember, is part of the action line of the WSIS. So we are fully in the topic of this event. The COVID-19 crisis has impacted the media sector in many ways. Most of the people, they see the negative, but there has been also some positive aspects. So better to consider both. The most visible and devastating impact has been the advertising crash. In Europe, the fall of the advertising revenues for media has been around 75% during the month of the hard confinement. So between February and May, there has been a quarter of the available resource traditionally on the previous year. This has tilted the business model of all media that are based on commercial incomes, the radio, the newspaper, the commercial television, and also some public service television, because some of them get part of the revenues from the advertising too. So the effect that not yet fully visible because of the national measure of support to all industries, including the media. But at the end of the year, this will become visible, and we will expect that there will be very bad impact. In the meantime, there has been a drastic and sudden shift of resources toward the global internet platforms, always in the media sector, because people cannot go to the kiosk to buy the newspapers. People cannot go to huge events. There were no sport events that usually drive attention to traditional media. So this shift has bring also an acceleration through all the crises, and will have huge consequences. These resources moving out of the national boundaries to go to global players will weaken the capacity of the media local player, and will create very much troubles to the sustainability of the media all over the world. If we look at the bright side, because it's important to look also at that, for those media that have been able to react to the trend and they have resources to invest, it's been possible to accelerate suddenly and drastically their digital dimension. New channels have been launched only on the online. Many activities that were traditionally linear became interactive. For instance, there has been a huge increase of the offer of program for school programs for children that were confined at home with their parents. And they, for instance, in France, we have seen an increase of 500% of the viewers for this program that were educational and didactical programs. So this shows that if you are stimulated, if you have to react to endeavors, traditional media can do, if they have the resources, can play an important role in the transition to the full digital world of tomorrow that is not yet there. But the second and most, for me, interesting aspect has been that there's been a sudden regain of trust in traditional media. We were discussing this in one webinar that we've done 2 months ago as WSIS, that this is confirmed trend that people, even those that in the last years, they were not anymore reading newspapers or looking at TV or listening radio because they were only getting information from social media. In this 5 months, has gone back to traditional media because when your life is at stake, you need to be sure that the information you get are the right one. You cannot simply follow the emotion. You cannot only think with your belly. You need to think with your brain. And there, this change of habits is bringing a lot of good surprise. The viewing rates for news programs have hugely increased. And also there's been a flock back of youngsters to the online news of traditional media because they were looking for the real news that they can rely with. If we shall be able to keep them on board for the future, this will be the bigger endeavor for all of us and also I think for democracy. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your description and what has happened to the media sector in these days of the COVID-19. So now we're going to be talking with Ms. Timia Suto, Knowledge Manager, International Chambers of Commerce, Private Sector. And we have the following question. The private sector plays a big role in the WSIS process. Can you please share some of the main activities by the ICC basis, a private sector partner from the inception of the WSIS process?
Thank you, Ambassador, and thank you to the co-organizing organizations of the WSIS Forum for inviting me. It is a pleasure joining you all today, even though I'm sure we all miss being in Geneva for WSIS Forum Week. As you noted, Ambassador, for years, business has advocated for the potential of digital technologies, and we are convinced they act as catalysts for the implementation of the UN SDGs. In this context, the International Chamber of Commerce is committed to building a digital future that works for everyone, everywhere, every day. In the wake of the COVID-19 crisis, we have witnessed firsthand the rapid adoption of digital technologies to enable the continuity of essential services from businesses, citizens, and governments. From enabling distance learning to facilitating remote signatures of contracts, technology has helped to connect people and enable commerce to continue in the face of widespread disruption in the physical world. We believe that the private sector has a vital role in charting an effective response to the crisis. We are also convinced that no one organization or stakeholder can tackle such a significant challenge on its own. The ongoing pandemic has shed light on the importance of multi-stakeholder cooperation. ICC, for example, forged several critical partnerships with key stakeholders in the wake of the COVID crisis. We partnered with the WHO to facilitate information flows by disseminating the latest and most reliable information on the virus outbreak to businesses worldwide. It is our mission to help businesses adapt to the new social and economic circumstances this pandemic is creating. At the same time, we firmly believe that businesses must be trusted voices in their local communities and spread knowledge among their employees, customers, and stakeholders. We work to enable them to do so. Focusing on the most hard-hit segment of the global economy, we launched the ICC Save Our SMEs, or SOS campaign, that is based on collaborative action and information sharing. We are working with partners from international organizations like the WHO, ILO, and UNICEF, with companies like Amazon or Facebook, with nonprofits like Cyber Readiness Institute, and with local chambers of commerce from the Gambia to Canada to gather and offer resources, policy advice, and training for MSMEs as they are battling this crisis. By pooling the expertise of our partners, we have been able to offer training on cybersecurity. We shared guidance and references on digital rapid response measures by banks. We also offer guidance documents and a series of podcasts and webinars to ensure supply chains, dispute resolution, and brand protection continues to function in this current unprecedented context. Our experience in dealing with this pandemic underscores what economic analysis has shown for years, that without meaningful access to digital solutions, people are at real risk to being left behind. The sad truth is that those often without meaningful access, women and girls, migrants, refugees, displaced persons, citizens of rural and remote communities, are the very people who would benefit most in relative terms from the gains in development that digitalization can bring. We cannot allow the world to fragment between the haves and the have-nots. And to be sure, business recognizes the absolute imperative in both moral and economic terms to play a full part in enabling an inclusive digital future. To us, this means good quality and affordable digital infrastructure, relevant content, services, and applications that are available in local languages and that serve the needs of local communities, as well as skills and competencies to understand, use, and develop the technologies of the future. For us, it is vital that we get the fundamentals right from a public policy and ecosystems perspectives to provide this. Failing that, we will not build resilient communities or businesses. When it comes to building digital infrastructure or rolling out digital services, it is important that policymakers understand the means by which the private sector makes investment decisions, as well as how political and regulatory decisions impact the technical functioning of the infrastructure or service. We need to reduce barriers to digital transformation most fundamentally by creating a stable and enabling policy and regulatory environment that invites investment and innovation. Often, an enabling environment is used or understood as a euphemism for deregulation or relaxing of tax and consumer safeguard rules, but it's really sustainably more than that. An enabling environment means that a few things must be in place. First, a stable legal and regulatory environment that welcomes new entrants, values new forms of competition, and effectively promotes digital transformation through education and skilling. Second, open markets and a free flow of data across borders, without which digital innovation could be crippled and market barriers could be significantly more complex, particularly for SMEs. Third, a holistic and whole-of-government approach to policymaking, whereby policies consider the multi-layered nature of digital ecosystem. And last but most importantly, we need multi-stakeholder partnerships to include the views of those required to implement policies from the first moments of policy creation. Ultimately, an enabling environment is one that stimulates the necessary investments in a way that results in a sustainable facility or service over time. Since technology is changing so fast, this can be a daunting prospect for regulators, and the private sector is well placed to partner with governments and all relevant stakeholders to enable digital transformation of societies. The ICC and our global network of 45 million businesses in more than 100 countries stands ready to do all it can to enable such partnerships and providing meaningful digital inclusion for all in the years to come. I am looking forward to discussing this with our distinguished panelists in the high-level sessions, but also with you all in the workshops and events in the coming weeks. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We believe the private sector plays a very important role, and there should be this alliance between the public sector, the private sector, and also international organizations in order to achieve the objective of having more connectivities in our country. So now we're going to be talking with Mr. Babu Simeoni, Chief Executive Officer from Sila Health private sector as well. So here we have the following question. Social entrepreneurship has the power to accelerate effectiveness in service delivery. You've been a social entrepreneur yourself. How can we provide enabling spaces for innovative interventions? I believe we don't have right now Mr. Babusi, so we will continue with our next question with Ms. Supaviti Arambis, Associate Professor from Department of Electrical Engineering of Chulalongkorn University, Thailand Academia. So here we have two questions. The first one is, what are the practical approaches to improve access to quality education and lifelong learning? And the second, how do learning systems need to change to make a fast changing world technological digital disruption?
Okay, thank you very much, Ambassador. To answer your question, I would like to focus on the SDG 4, which is ensure the inclusive and equitable quality education and lifelong learning. So when we talk about the inclusive education, actually the definition may vary among countries. So it depends on the country circumstance, whether to include children, youth, disability, adults, special education needs, ethnic minority, women or people in the rural or remote area. So it is very important that the Ministry of Education monitor disparity and equality to elaborate inclusion policies. So I'll give just some example with respect of time. So some are focused on the community-based education policy, like in Afghanistan, that they do the education provision to the children who lack the access to the government school. And then like in Thailand, some approach of the setting up the equitable education fund in 2018 so that it could reach out to the last 10% of out of school children and youth, which equivalent to 4.3 million children. So ministry will adopt the conditional cash transfer for children on the age of 3 to 15 from the poor family. So like in total in 2018, they reached out to 600,000 extremely poor students. So that I think this is very also the effective program. And they also provide the opportunity for the homegrown teacher scholarship so that if they want to be a teacher and then to come to teach at the own school at the disadvantaged community, it is also possible. So this could also reduce the children that may need to be dropped out if they don't give up the opportunities. And then like for the lifelong learning, actually to associate, like for example, from the aspect of the poorer country, they may aspect related to the adult literacy program. But for the richer country, they may elaborate it with the training system for work or non-work purpose by means of like the upskill or reskill. So some practical implementation we could see is like in the South Korea, that they set up the master plan for the lifelong learning, provide some of the paid leave to like the staff in the employee, right? So that they could be self-motivated with the lifelong learning or establish of the lifelong learning center. Japan, they set out like the community center in those in respective regional. So that in that area, okay, there could be some kind of the knowledge and skill improvement. And China has a diversified educational service with like the Open University, County Vocational Education Center. And we all know about the massive open online courseware that happen in many universities around the world. So like my university, Chulalongkorn University, we also developed the Chula MOOC since 2016, and they serve our students and also Thai citizens who would like to improve knowledge and skill. So we can see like that there needs to be the effort from government institution. We could see the improvement toward the SDG goal. And as per the second question, on the learning system, as we have the digital disruption and as the coming of the fourth industrial revolution, so we expect more of the digitization and automation on the work process and job. And is this a very good signal for us, like whether in the government, in the company, and then individual that we need to adapt to this trend. So first, if we focus on the learning system in the school and the university, so I think you all may hear about the Education 4.0. So that's about learning innovation. So when we talk about that learning system, typically we have three components: the people, the hardware, and then the software. So people is a teacher. Now it has to transform into the facilitator. And then the way to teach would be changed about the course content so that we could focus on the outcome-based learning and then active learning. And then like for the hardware, we need a smart classroom with the good internet so that it could encourage the student interaction and participation, and software, good learning management system, and then also the video conferencing, as we all have many of the webinar and online class of now is extremely important. So Chulalongkorn University, we also adopt the Education 4.0 based on the CDIO, the Conceive, Design, Implement, Operate framework. And then now we have many of the classes that be in this area. And second, if we focus on the learning system after school, so it could be the scope of the continuing education and also lifelong learning. So employee would require to learn the new digital skill and the tech disruptive skill like AI and data science, depend on their professional cluster. In addition, cross-functional skill and interpersonal skill are also important to the digital disruption era. So it is important that they could access the current skill set and see the need, what area need to reskill and upskill, so that they can fit the job that require different skill. So to change the learning system, government need to adopt the policy. Company need to also provide certain program and some incentive. And individual, we need to access and improve our competency at all time. So that would be the answer to your question, ambassadors. And I welcome any question that come afterward. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for all the details that you have given us today. They are very interesting, and we hope that we can achieve them in our countries as well. So now we are going to be talking with Mr. Juan Peirano, Senior Policy Advisor, Global Policy Development, Internet Society, ISAC, Technical Community. So we have the following question for him. As you know, slightly more than 50% of the world is connected, and this pandemic has shown how important connectivity is, what we could do to get the remaining people online. Can you share some of your thoughts on how the technical community can help?
First of all, thank you very much, Madam Ambassador, for this question. Excellencies, honorable delegates, and ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for the opportunity to participate in this discussion, and thank you for the question indeed. As other speakers mentioned, this topic is both critical and timely. The COVID crisis has shed light on the importance of connectivity and infrastructure in a very direct way. It is urgent to set ourselves in the right path for success. From our side at the Internet Society, a non-profit organization founded in 1992, with more than 130 chapters and nearly 70,000 individual members around the world, over 100 organizational members, 10 special interest groups, we are informed of what is happening on the ground. We are a global source of neutral technical expertise with a distributed network of experts covering all regions. We also understand how the internet works. COVID-19 crisis has demonstrated not only the importance of an open internet, but how resilient the internet actually is. There is much truth in the observation from a colleague at ISOC that said that the internet was ready for the crisis. The internet has been our lifeline and will continue to be our lifeline. And why is this? Because of the work and commitment of many different stakeholders around the world. The recently launched UN Secretary General report on digital cooperation reminds us of the importance of working together hand in hand in a truly multi-stakeholder fashion. This approach has been the cornerstone of our many successes at the Internet Society and for the Internet as a whole. But our job is not done. There's much work to do. In 2020, we still have a digital divide. The Internet Society is committed to ensuring that the Internet is globally connected, open, secure, and trustworthy for everyone. Therefore, this year, we embarked on a set of initiatives aimed at growing and strengthening the Internet. And this opportunity, and regarding your question, Madam Ambassador, let me focus on how we are growing the Internet. Working together with our global community and our partners, we are focused on expanding the reach and reliability of the Internet to people in urban, remote, and rural areas through community networks. But we need to remember, as our CEO Andrew Sullivan says, the internet is a deeply human technology. We need to ensure that the local communities are ready on a technical and operational level. This is the foundation for continued and sustainable growth. In order to achieve this, it is key that governments and regulatory bodies work on innovative ways to use funding mechanisms and public resources, such as spectrum, to ensure that we will connect the nearly 50% of the world that is still unconnected, as Madam Ambassador said. At the same time, the Internet Society has been a strong supporter of Internet Exchange Points, IXPs. IXPs are core local internet infrastructure that helps improve local internet traffic exchange, drives down local cost, and improves the quality of service. We are actively talking on local communities about their current needs and working with them to provide guidance on this matter. Therefore, we look forward to participating in this session and beyond, working with all stakeholders, recognizing the achievements made, but also the challenges that lie ahead. So let's grow the internet together. Thank you very much, Ambassador, and back to you.
Thank you very much to ISOC for that message. It's very, very motivated for countries that still have the digital divide, like the Dominican Republic. So now we are going to be speaking with Dr. Abulkarim Oloyede, Senior Lecturer, Department of Telecommunication Science, University of Ilorin, Nigeria, Academia. So what is the impact of COVID-19 on education around the world? Can you share how we have adapted to digital e-learning worldwide?
Okay, thank you, Ambassador, for that wonderful question. I want to first of all thank the WSIS organizers for inviting me today. Your Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, around the world, I think COVID-19 has impacted all sectors, and this includes all levels in our educational system. Education, like most other sectors, is badly affected as a result of the lockdown. I think it has affected most countries. Most countries are in total or near total lockdown. Schools, colleges, and universities were locked down. More than about 1.5 billion students and youths across the planet are affected by the school and university closure. COVID-19, I believe it's now the new reality, and we have to adapt to it. Most educational institutions in the world are now seeking bailouts in order to remain open. On the other hand, from experience, we know that for many students, home is not a safe place to be. When educational institutions are closed for more than a week, the most vulnerable students are exposed, leading to an increase in social vices. Violence against children is common, and this includes sexual, emotional, economic violence, and neglect. In addition to this, education is important, and most time, the time lost can never be regained. Therefore, technology and the internet is now playing a critical role for all educational institutions to remain open for teaching, learning, and also a form of monitoring for the most vulnerable students. We now see that different virtual platforms are in use. I would probably like to say a big thank you to most of the providers of these platforms, as they provide some of their platforms free of charge so that people from around the world, especially the most vulnerable and the poorest among the poorest, can actually use this platform. Unfortunately, most developing countries do not have the infrastructure for virtual teaching and learning or remote monitoring to actually take place. In order for teaching, learning, and monitoring to fully resume, using technology, I believe that government and policymakers need to put in place adequate infrastructures around internet connectivity. They need to collaborate with international organizations, and I believe that universal access is now supposed to be one of our most important priority. Just like the previous speaker, Joanne, has mentioned, what the Internet Society is doing. We need to make sure that we examine all available options. We have to examine critically the solutions that are based on local reality and something that has worked for other people, we need to also examine and make sure we're looking at all this in order for us to have the best solution. Joanne already mentioned about community network. I would just like to add that community network should be given serious consideration, and it allows the local community to build a network based on the local need. Community network is scalable. It can help to bring about affordable connectivity. Such options should be considered, especially so that teaching and learning can continue in our various communities. Time lost can never be regained. The internet is now critical more than ever. Finally, I would like to say education, like the internet, is expected to transform lives. Therefore, it cannot be stopped. Thank you very much, Madam Ambassador. Over to you.
Thank you very much. So now we are with our final panelist, Mr. Babusi Nyoni, Chief Executive Officer from Sila Health, private sector. So we are going to have the following question for him. Social entrepreneurship has the power to accelerate effectiveness in service delivery. You've been a social entrepreneur yourself. How can we provide enabling spaces for innovative interventions? You have to unmute your microphone, Mr. Nyoni, because we cannot listen to you.
Can you hear me? Oh,
yes, now we can hear you. Okay.
Technology.
Yeah, we know.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ambassador, for that question. And thank you so much to ITU and the WSIS organizers for inviting me to this panel. My name is Babusi Nyoni. I'm the co-founder of Sila Health, a Zimbabwean social enterprise that provides last mile healthcare access to low and middle income households across Africa using low data chat platforms and machine learning, creative comprehensive data sets to advance regional healthcare. And I'll be speaking mainly as a proxy to the private sector and social entrepreneurs such as myself. And to answer your question, in my view, governments can assist social enterprises by engaging in soft initiatives such as elevating the profiles of social entrepreneurs in order to enable access to partnerships and demonstrate the value of such interventions to funders. Structurally, governments can accelerate socioeconomic gap filling by making it easier for social entrepreneurs to win public sector contracts. What is needed here is a reimagining of policies that govern eligibility for procurement and listing in order to allow ICT intervention-focused enterprises to invest in solving communities' persistent problems. Social enterprises can provide innovative ideas, de-risk approaches, and expand the capacity for implementation. Our startup, Sila Health, provides empirical proof of this in our rollout of an automated healthcare chatbot to bolster the city of Bulawayo's efforts in tracking and containing the spread of COVID-19 in the absence of testing kits and facilities. This SMS and WhatsApp-based intervention has resulted in a 592% improvement in patient outreach, as well as a 15% reduction in call center queries. And our public data tool enables NGOs and governments to obtain real-time data on reported symptoms in the areas they preside over. And where currently health data is hard and expensive to access, our tool enables governments to quickly recognize breakouts of infectious diseases, which is crucial for a quick and informed response. And it also allows them to follow general health trends in real time to better evaluate health policies and understand what works and what doesn't. And additionally, we allow decision makers such as governments to predict the future demand for health equipment and medication by locale. And this is all done on low data platforms that are accessible by the lowest of incomes across Africa. And in turn, partnering with government offers us social enterprises enormous potential to scale a product or service across regions or even nationwide. National, regional, and local governments are critical actors in almost any ecosystem, as they also offer networks and infrastructure that reach citizens at economies of scale. And as the final panelist, I just want to say thank you again to the organizers of the panel, and I look forward to the rest of the interactions of the WSIS 2020 Forum. Thank you.
Thank you very much to all the panelists and for all the productive responses we have had today. We have learned from you and we have a wider guidance of what to do and how to respond effectively due to the COVID-19. So thank you for being here. And now I will pass the floor to Gitanjali Sat, coordinator of the WSIS Forum, for the Q&A that we have received from the participants.
Thank you very much, Ambassador, and thank you to all the panelists. We have answered most of the questions. The panelists have answered most of the questions through the chat. So I do hope that the audience is satisfied with the responses they've received. Due to the lack of time, maybe you can send us your additional questions at wisis-info@itu.int. I have typed it on the chat, and we do hope that as soon as you send us the question, we will get it answered by the panelists. So, dear participants, it is now time to actually thank this great panel and to move on to our second part, where we would like to have a short presentation on our partners. We are very grateful to our partners, and we would like to take a moment to recognize their commitment and support. Without their support, the WSIS Forum, even in the virtual format, would not have been possible. So please take a moment to look at our partners, our Platinum partner, Gold Plus partner, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Japan, partner for specific activities, Switzerland, partner for specific activities, IEEE, partner for specific activities, Rwanda, contributing partner, ICANN, contributing partner, Internet Society, contributing partner, Geneva Xinhua Initiative, contributing partner, GCOA, supporting partner, and IFIP, our supporting partner. Thank you very much. And we would now like to end this high-level session and the opening ceremony with a video from the Dominican Republic, who is also chairing the WSIS Forum 2020, showing some of the implementation activities in Dominican Republic.
República Digital es una iniciativa del gobierno dominicano para garantizar el acceso a las tecnologías de la información y comunicación a todos los ciudadanos. Su objetivo es que todos los dominicanos y dominicanas sean parte de la nueva era digital sin que nadie quede fuera. Esta iniciativa está fundamentada en 4 ejes principales y 2 transversales. Eje de educación. Educación garantiza el acceso de los estudiantes y maestros a la era digital, promoviendo estrategias inclusivas para integrar las TIC a las escuelas. Este eje está compuesto por los proyectos 1 a 1, desarrollo de competencias científico-tecnológicas, 1 a 1 de educación superior, formación de capital humano en desarrollo de software, Becasoft, portal de información humanística, científica y tecnológica, servidor público digital, centros tecnológicos comunitarios y el proyecto Internet Sano. El eje de acceso. Acceso asegura la disponibilidad y conectividad a Internet con el despliegue de una infraestructura en todo el país para reducir la brecha digital, mejorar los procesos productivos, educativos, gubernamentales y los servicios a los ciudadanos. Acceso cuenta con los programas Banda Ancha para Todos, Red Nacional de Fibra Óptica, ampliación y remozamiento de los centros tecnológicos comunitarios y Compumetros. El eje de productividad y empleo. Productividad y empleo inserta y desarrolla las MIPYMES del país en la economía digital a través de capacitaciones en materia tecnológica, asistencia técnica y asesoría empresarial. El eje enfocado en la economía digital cuenta con los proyectos MIPYMES Digitales, desarrollo de la industria nacional de software y servicios, programa de encadenamiento productivo digital y formación en tecnología aplicada y progresando en TIC. Gobierno digital abierto y transparente. Moderniza y acerca el gobierno a la ciudadanía, brindándole servicios gubernamentales desde la comodidad de su hogar, las 24 horas del día, durante los 7 días de la semana. Además, transparenta la gestión pública. Para garantizar sus objetivos, el gobierno digital ejecuta los siguientes proyectos: servicios en línea, municipios conectados, data center del Estado, expediente integral de salud, gestión de citas hospitalarias. Ciberseguridad. Este eje transversal protege el ciberespacio a través de la prevención, detección y respuesta a las ciberamenazas. Este eje coordina la estrategia y el Centro Nacional de Ciberseguridad. Inclusión social. Promueve capacitaciones para la población más vulnerable, contribuyendo en la reducción de la brecha digital y la igualdad de oportunidades para todos. ¿Y cómo hemos avanzado con la República Digital? 350.451 computadoras entregadas a estudiantes y más de 28.262 entregadas a maestros. 1.080 puntos Wi-Fi gratuitos en todo el territorio nacional. 93.000 MIPYMES beneficiadas en los proyectos de comercio electrónico y economía digital. Más de 1.150 servicios en línea puestos a disposición de los ciudadanos. Más de 23 millones de trámites y servicios públicos atendidos. Estrategia y un Centro Nacional de Ciberseguridad en funcionamiento. 491.401 ciudadanos infoalfabetizados. 418.502 niños, jóvenes, mujeres y adultos mayores capacitados en TIC. 926.503 consultas integradas a leyes en el expediente integral de salud en 140 hospitales y 163 unidades de atención primaria. Visita republicadigital.gov.do, conoce más y únete a la revolución digital de la República Dominicana.
Thank you very much for everybody for joining us today. We have noticed that our Secretary General is also present. Mr. Zhao, would you like to just say a few words before closing? Would you like to please unmute? Yes.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chinanjali. I think that it's a very good session, and we have a very good and very high level, presentation and interactions from the floor, and our ambassadors is marvelous, who help us to moderate this high level session. So I just sent her a message to express my appreciation to her. But anyhow, I found that this meeting is very good, and I already received quite a number of feedback from our participants. I have maintained my personal connections. I think that this is very good. And also, I think that the topic we discussed today, I think that is quite good, and not only the topics of classic, but also topics, talking about what we are facing today under this COVID-19 situation. So it's very good. I hope we could have our participants enjoyable with this session, and of course, I very much like to see through the whole process from now until September, that our members, our stakeholders, our participants will follow us. And if there's any proposal, any good idea, like to share with us, please don't hesitate to let us know. So let me once more again congratulate all the participants to follow up this very important session, and my personal appreciation to all the speakers today and moderators today. So that's, I think that I don't want to abuse my power, we should close this session as we planned. So once more again, congratulations, and thank you very much for all participants to follow us at this session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zhao, Secretary General of the ITU. We would like to remind you that we have another session that has started at 1 o'clock. So please do join that session. It's on waste and water data solutions. And at 2 o'clock, we will have the opening of the ICTs and older persons track. from the Global Coalition of Aging and ITU. So please join us there, and we will see you very soon in the next room. Thank you very much, and we do hope that you will join us all throughout till September. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, that's good.